Howdy everyone, my name's DaXeo and this is the Pin Update. So, in today's news, we have some updates to the H.R.1 bill. We also have what got changed in the COVID-19 Relief bill, as well as a tragic story involving a rescue farm in Michigan. And last but not least, South Carolina is planning to put a ban on transgenders in sports. So let's get right into that. So for today's story, we have some changes to the COVID-19 Relief bill, and this is from Breitbart by AP, and it's called What's Changed in the Senate's COVID Relief Bill. So what I got from reading this was the $15 minimum wage was removed from the bill. The Senate bill gives state and local governments $350 billion to deal with the coronavirus crisis. It adds $8.5 billion for COVID relief for rural hospitals. Whoa. And it helps with health insurance for people who were laid off. This revision allows for laid off workers to stay on their employer's health plan through the end of September this year. And then all COVID student loan relief is now tax-free. All right, and for the next story today, we have 37 things to know about the H.R.1 bill for the People Act. And this is from Breitbart by Joel Polak. And then here are some important takeaways from this article. So I read through all the 37 things that were, or all the 37 things you needed to know. And so one of the points was that federal control over congressional elections. So that means that Congress has the authority and control over the federal elections instead of the states. For the next thing that was interesting that they added, declaring that states and localities have eroded the access to the right to vote. This bill declares that photo ID, burdensome voter registration procedures, purges of ineligible... I can't fucking talk, man. Ugh. And for the second thing that I found interesting is it declares that states and localities have eroded access to the right to vote, and it says that basically having to register using photo ID is burdensome, and it also suggests that these are forms of racial discrimination and systematic racism, that you have to have a voter ID in order to vote. Makes sense. All right, for the next thing, there is protection for illegal aliens who are registered to vote. It basically just protects non-citizens from getting deported if they do try and vote or do try and register to vote. The next thing is registration for minors, so under the age of 18. They want to get more people under the age of 18 to register, so especially in like college classes, it says, and then high schools are also required to provide voter registration information to students before graduation. The next point is reducing prison funds to states unless they register ex-convicts to vote. So basically, the states won't give the prisons funds that they need in order for their annual expenses, and unless they get these convicts to register to vote and vote, which I really don't understand. Why we want criminals voting. I mean, I understand some of them do have the right to vote if they're not felons and stuff like that, but I don't get it. Number 19, which was gutting photo ID requirements. So now they want to take away photo ID requirements when you try and register to vote or when you try and vote. The next thing was deportation for aliens who violate election laws. Using the term alien, which Democrats have tried to outlaw in other contexts, this bill defines foreigners who have tried to interfere in American elections as deportable. And for the last thing, changing conflict of interest rules to bar Donald Trump from running again. And even though Trump isn't mentioned in this bill, it requires that the president or vice president has to divest all financial interest that could pose a conflict of interest for them, their families, or anyone with whom they are negotiating or who is seeking employment in their administration. So basically they're saying they're not allowed to run for president or join the president's administration if they have financial interests that could pose a conflict of interest. That's literally anyone in the United States, most likely, That's anyone in the world. It's just pretty dumb. And we know Joe Biden has financial interests that would conflict with him running for president and would conflict with his administration. We know that. All right, and for the next post today, we have something just completely terrible. This is from Michigan. It's from Activist Post by Matt Agarist, and it states that a family's farm was raided, animals were killed for rehabilitating them without a permit. This is just terrible. I hated reading this. A Michigan farm owner's desire to help animals in need has landed her in jail and the animals she was helping killed. Keju Farm and rescue owner Julie Hall did not pay the government for the proper permit before helping animals. Yeah, apparently you need a permit for helping animals. I mean, I get that, like a veterinary permit or something like that, but like, come on. They didn't need to go out there and arrest her and kill the animals. They could have given her a ticket. All right, let's read on into this. Because there is no animal rescue in Petoskey, for years, Hall has been rescuing both wild and domestic animals and nursing them back to health. She has years of experience in the field and has a farm where she carries out the rehabilitation. She was well known in the community for providing this service. She states that we have no rehab centers up here, so this good old farm gal helps everyone out. She seems like a really great person. Folks in her community says that Hall has saved countless animals over the years and has provided a much-needed service in the absence of Michigan licensed rehabilitation center. So that's the government should have one of those rehabilitation centers, but apparently they don't in that area. So she's taking the burden of what they should be doing. However, a warrant was issued for her arrest last week because the government forces people like Hall to pay them first before rescuing animals. I still find this it's just enraging. And this is what the DNR person stated after serving the warrant. What happens is the wildlife is raised. Sometimes, if you let it go, they become a nuisance or even a disease issue here. They're either domestic animals or they're wild animals. Either way, they could be a nuisance or have a disease. It's animals, man. Last year, or half a year ago, there was a tamed whitetail buck that was in the Petoskey area that was causing issues. When it gets in mating season, it can be very dangerous to people and other animals. So this buck was found and had to be euthanized because it was a danger to the public. Aren't like all wild animals dangerous? Doesn't that mean we have to go and kill every single wild animal and every single domestic animal that could be potentially dangerous? This is just crazy. All right, and for the final story today, we have from the Daily Fodder by John Paluska. It states that South Carolina Republicans have introduced a bill to ban transgender females from competing in women's sports. It states in the article that a bill would ban so-called transgender females from playing in women's sports has reportedly just been introduced to the South Carolina state legislature. The bill, titled Save Women's Sports Act, would make it illegal for any male who is so-called transgender female from competing in women's sports. It also states that this bill is important because men and women are biologically different and no amount of transgender surgeries can change this fact. And it also says that this bill will help preserve the integrity of sports that are not co-ed in nature. It is perfectly fine to have co-ed sports, but it's also perfectly fine to have sports for men and sports for women. I completely agree with that. All right, and before the end of today's video, here is the heartwarming clip of the day. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you drop a like, make sure you subscribe, comment, let me know if I'm doing good, and do your own research, guys, but make sure to keep watching me. Peace out.